Good morning. My name is Melinda Clifford. I'm the coordinator for the Elementary and Secondary English Language Arts programs at the Ministry of Education for elementary and secondary. I'm accompanied today by my colleague Dawn.
Hello, I'm Dawn Uniat. I'm a teacher from the Sir Wilfrid Laurier School Board. I'm on a loan of service right now, working with Melinda on the ELA team.
So today's webinar, Talking to Learn, Learning to Talk, a primer on Oracy. As the title suggests, we are going to, this is a primer on Oracy, so an introduction to the term Oracy, what it means and why we've chosen to use it in the work that we're doing on the talk competency. The term Oracy came about through work that we've been doing with the PACT, which is an acronym for the Provincial Advisory Council for Teachers of English. The PACT is made up of experts from the milieu, including professors from McGill, Bishops and Concordia universities, ELA and literacy consultants from the English school boards, government representatives from evaluation, homeschooling and Anglophone services, as well as members from the private schools and CEGEPs. Back in 2018-2019, the PAC committee identified using language to talk, uses language talk to communicate and to learn as a competency that teachers required more support and resources to better teach. Since then, a PAC subcommittee was formed to look at the role talk plays in learning and literacy and how we might better teach and assess talk and what talk might look like in the classroom. So we're now in the third year of our journey, and after much research, collaboration and hard work, we can finally begin to share and promote our findings. So today we'll be looking at exploring the term Oracy and what it means in our classrooms. We'll discuss the value of talk, examine current needs and challenges, and explore ideas to meet those needs and challenges. So let's take a minute to think about these two questions and then we'll view a short video. So what is Oracy, and is it a term that you've heard of before? We're going to play you a short video that gives you an overview of Oracy, and as you watch the video, please take note of what strikes you the most. So if you're viewing this video with colleagues, you might like to pause for a moment here to take a few moments to discuss how Oracy was defined in the video and why do we need this term Oracy in our ELA curriculum. So we saw in the video where the term Oracy originated. It was Andrew Wilkinson and his colleagues at the School of Education at Birmingham University who coined the term Oracy back in 1965. In our work with PACT, the Provincial Advisory Council for Teachers of English, and other colleagues in the ELA community, it was agreed that talk is also undervalued in our curriculum. And we decided to use the term Oracy so we could elevate the status of talk as well. The PowerTune we viewed included a few definitions of Oracy. The PACT Talk subcommittee defines it this way. Oracy enables us to navigate the world and our own learning through the skills and processes of talking and listening. So why does Oracy matter? One of the seminal pieces that's influenced us in the past couple of years is the report called The State of Speaking in Our Schools, which was produced in England based on data collected from a survey they did of over 900 teachers across the country. And it was bolstered with the current research on oral communication. The research highlights the importance that Oracy has in linguistic, cognitive, social and emotional development, civic engagement, career opportunities, as well as economic status. We'd like to share some of the research on the link between talk and the various types of development with you now. An overview of the literature by Millard and Menzies highlights links between oral language skills and reading and writing, in particular for younger children and those who struggle to learn to write, including those with special needs. So talk can aid in a student's linguistic development. Evidence from qualitative studies also suggests that quality classroom dialogue between students and their teacher or with peers might help them grow in confidence and self-esteem, build relationships with adults and their peers, and develop a sense of self and emotional intelligence. And in terms of cognitive development, Goswami argues that language, and particularly spoken language, plays a critical role in supporting memory development in children. The importance of being able to communicate effectively through talk is really a primordial skill for joining the workforce as well. A number of the skills most lacking among applicants for jobs in recent surveys relate directly or indirectly to oral communication. 32% of employers felt that employees lack the ability to manage their own feelings and the feelings of others. 31% of employers felt that their employees lacked the skills to persuade and influence others, and they felt that 16% of their employees were ill-equipped to make speeches or presentations. Numerous studies show that socioeconomically disadvantaged children's spoken language development, particularly in pre-K and kindergarten, is lower on average than both that of their more advantaged peers and also in comparison to their own nonverbal cognitive abilities. Furthermore, a child's ability to use spoken language has a really important effect on his or her level of educational attainment. Poor spoken language ability can therefore act as a mechanism for entrenching socioeconomic inequality in education. And finally, a large body of qualitative research suggests that structured and purposeful classroom dialogue between students and with teachers can help broaden students' awareness of social issues and differences between social groups. And Andrews goes further, suggesting that democracy can only function if young people learn to argue effectively. So you can see that the research supports the important role talk plays in so many facets of our development. So in a nutshell, why does Oracy matter? On a cognitive level, it enhances other skills such as reading and writing. Oracy deepens understanding and improves educational outcomes such as problem solving, reasoning, and talking one's way towards meaning. Oracy helps promote social and emotional development. It supports confidence, self-esteem, empathy, and well-being. Oracy can also help facilitate upward mobility, improve employability, and encourage civic engagement. And now I'll turn it over to you, Dawn.
In school, Oracy is a powerful tool for learning. By teaching students to become more effective speakers and listeners, we empower them to better understand themselves, each other, and the world around them. This graphic was inspired by Voice 21. We tweaked their graphic to reflect the language in our program, so we have learning to talk and talking to learn with Oracy at the center. And you'll remember from the video, Oracy, talk, and speaking are terms that might be used interchangeably and all encompass listening as well. In our ELA programs, learning to talk is done in context, in authentic situations, and at the same time as students are talking to learn. And talk takes place in conjunction with the other ELA competencies because our competencies are integrated and they all work in synergy. The work of Voice 21 and their original pilot school, School 21, has inspired us in our work on Oracy, and in particular, a book written by two of the School 21 teachers, Transform Teaching and Learning Through Talk, the Oracy Imperative. We found this to be an invaluable resource. It's accessible and quick to read with practical ideas and concrete examples of how to teach and promote the use of talk. And before we go on to the next slide, I'm going to ask you to take a minute and think about ideas you have for teaching talk. What are some of the ways that you teach talk in your classroom? I'm going to show you a short video that illustrates some important points that we've come to realize through our classroom experience, reading of research, and especially through discussion with other educators. The video begins with a quote from the book I just mentioned. And here we go. Before we view the video, I asked you to think about some of the ways you teach talk. Consider your initial ideas and how they compare with what you saw in the video. Did your thinking change? Many people have an aha moment when we realize that we often provide opportunities for students to talk, but we don't usually explicitly teach the skills students need to use talk effectively. Now we'd like to show you some examples of what talk can look like in classrooms when Oracy is being specifically taught. The first video is an elementary school, School 21, the original pilot school of the Voice 21 project. A few things to consider as you view the video. Think about what you notice, what surprises you, touches you, motivates you. And I'm going to ask you to please take a few minutes to watch the video, and you can access it by scanning the QR code or by entering the URL in your browser. And now we'll look at some secondary students. Again, think about what you notice, what surprises you, motivates you, what's your takeaway? Please follow the link by scanning the QR code or entering the URL into your browser. And we suggest that you view this video up to the 3-minute 50-second mark, or if you're really enjoying it, of course, you can watch the whole thing. In our live session, after viewing the videos, we asked participants to discuss these guiding questions. For many people, one thing that stood out in both videos was the importance of having clear expectations and how talk is explicitly taught, even with older students. And another thing many people were impressed by was what our younger students can do when we teach them how to talk and give them opportunities to practice. And now I'm going to pass it back to Linda.
So to give you a little bit of background on the past, the present, and our future plans for Oracy, in 2020, we sent out a survey on the state of talk in Quebec schools. The survey was responded to by over 300 teachers from both public and private sectors, 49% elementary teachers and 51% secondary. So we had a really nice, even distribution of responses. Following that, we analysed the data from the survey, and we also worked with a researcher from McGill University to look at all of the research on Oracy to create a report called The Power and Possibilities of Oracy in Quebec ELA Classrooms. We've worked with the PAC subcommittee on talk to create an Oracy skills tool that goes through all of the programs, the elementary program, the secondary cycle 1 and secondary cycle 2 ELA programs, and pulls out all of the skills that are present in all 3 programs and puts them on one page so that teachers know what skills to teach for talk. We followed that up with work on 2 Oracy continua. We created an Oracy Continua for planning, instruction and providing feedback, which is specifically for teachers. And it shows teachers what these Oracy skills look like in the classroom in action. And we also created an Oracy Continua for students for reflection and goal setting. So it really helps them get at the metacognitive angle of talk, reflecting on how they talk, setting goals for themselves, using the continua to work towards, and choosing the right strategies to help them achieve those goals. We validated both the Oracy Skills Tool and the Oracy Continua in 2021 through our Talk Triads project, where we worked with 6 different school boards and 21 different teachers in elementary, secondary cycle 1 and secondary cycle 2. And we got all of their feedback to validate the Oracy Skills Tool and the Oracy Continua. We followed that up with 2 Oracy workshops. So Oracy in the ELA Classroom Part 1 and Oracy in the ELA Classroom Part 2. Both of these have been made into webinars and are available on our Literacy Today website in the section for pedagogical development. And finally, you will also be able to find the Oracy Toolkit, which includes all of the tools, videos, and much more, which is also available on our Literacy Today site. So to give you a little bit of background in terms of the data that we were able to gather from the survey, we asked teachers, what does the competency uses language or talk to communicate and to learn mean to you? So for 196 of the 306 respondents, it meant presentations such as speeches, public speaking, slam poetry, recitals, book talks, and debates. For 67 of the 306 respondents, it meant small group and whole class discussions, which included literature circles or Socratic method. 24 respondents answered that it meant think, pair, share, 12 peer conferencing, and 7 teachers responded academic conversations and talk moves. So that gave us a little bit of an idea of what we needed to focus on in terms of creating resources to support the teaching of talk in the classroom. Some highlights from the survey. A majority of teachers agree that students need significant support to speak in class. So half or less than half of students, according to our teachers who we surveyed, believe that students are not comfortable sharing their ideas verbally with others, that they find it challenging to express their ideas clearly, they find it challenging to do presentations and participate in public speaking. Many have difficulty justifying their ideas and with arguments and opinions. They struggle choosing and using the appropriate register for effective conversations, and listening actively and critically was another thing that was highlighted that we need to focus on with our students. Questions 18 and 19. So would you like support to better teach talk? So you can get a sense that 57.2% agreed that they definitely wanted support to teach talk. 27% were on the fence, and 16% felt that they were fairly comfortable teaching talk explicitly on their own. So what would most help you to teach talk? Well, as we can see, it was fairly unanimous. Formative assessment tools constituting 81.4% of respondents in the survey. In terms of assessing talk, we asked students whether they would like more support to better assess talk. Overwhelmingly, almost 64% of teachers responded that yes, they would. 12.1% feel that they don't need any support to better assess talk. When we asked them what would most help them better assess talk, again, almost 82% responded that formative assessment tools would help them better assess talk. So with that in mind, that was the information or the data that led us with the PAC subcommittee on talk to create these tools that we're presenting to you today. So what you see in the graphic here on the page or on the slide is a summary of all of the talk skills that I was mentioning before from the ELA programs. This covers all kinds of talk in any context at all levels. So there's nothing new here, and the tool does not replace the programs. We've just highlighted and organized all of the talk skills in the elementary and secondary programs and put them all on one page. The goal is to have a reminder of what to teach for the talk competency all in one place to support us in teaching talk explicitly and helping students learn how to use their voices in all kinds of ways, not just for presentations. The Oracy Skills Tool includes a definition of Oracy, which comes from the PACT Talk subcommittee. who created this tool. And it's organized into 4 color-coded categories or strands. So you can see the orange physical strand, pink linguistic, the purple or mauve cognitive strand, and the green social and emotional strand. And these are all umbrellaed by that turquoise metacognitive strand, which encompasses all of the other strands below it. So if we take a little zoom in here, what you're looking at is the physical strand. You might have noticed that some of the text here is written in bold font. Anything in bold font indicates that it's included in a glossary. And on the Literacy Today website, where this tool is available, you can have access to the glossary, which gives you a nice definition, mostly from the programs, but also from other sources of everything that's in bold here. And now I'll pass it over to you, Dawn, to tell us about the continuum.
All right, also included in the Oracy toolkit are 2 continua that describe a progression of Oracy development. So here's a quick preview of the developmental continuum for teachers to use for planning instruction and provide feedback. Across the top, we have the same 4 strands you saw in the Oracy skills tool that Melinda showed you. So reading from bottom to top, we have descriptors of the beginning level, developing, consolidating, and extending levels. And this document was modeled on the Reader Response Learning Continuum that was published a few years ago, and you can find that continuum on Literacy Today as well. And let's look at an excerpt and zero in on the consolidating level, just to give you an idea of what it looks like. So if we look under social and emotional, we'll see that students actively listen, respond, and are open to the feelings and ideas of others. They read an audience and connect with them, and they make contributions in an assured manner through constructive and positive interactions. And there's also a student continuum that's quite similar to the teacher continuum, but this one uses I statements and student-friendly language. Probably the most significant difference from the teacher continuum is the blue metacognitive section at the top. This makes the continuum an important tool to help students as they reflect on their learning and set goals for themselves, an essential part of the QEP. Here at the consolidating level for the social and emotional strand, I listen actively and respond to others thoughtfully and respectfully. I can read my audience and connect with them. I am confident, contributing in a variety of contexts and with a broader audience. These tools, the Oracy skills tool and the continua, were all created by a subcommittee of PACT. We viewed a lot of videos to see what students were actually doing when they were engaged in various talk situations, and this helped us to write the descriptors for each strand and level. And the tools have been designed to be used in elementary and secondary classes from grade 1 through to secondary 5, and in all kinds of talk contexts, including informal exploratory situations like discussions, as well as more formal contexts like presentations. And you can find out more about the Oracy Skills Tool in our presentation Oracy in the ELA Classroom Part 1. And you'll find detailed information about the continua in our presentation Oracy Part 2, Developmental Continuum of Oracy Skills. All of the webinars are available on the Literacy Today website in the Professional Development section. And all of the tools you will find in the Toolkit section on the Oracy Today, on the Literacy Today website. Here's our bibliography. The first book is the one that I mentioned earlier, a great resource for teachers and consultants with many concrete examples of how we can teach and promote the use of talk. Next, the report, The State of Speaking in Our Schools. This began with a survey of teachers in the UK, as Melinda mentioned earlier on. It presents the survey results and includes a review of the research on talk, and that's where we found the information that Melinda presented earlier in the section Why Oracy Matters. And we've included links to the videos that you viewed as well. If you have any comments or questions about Oracy that we haven't answered, you can contact us at admin@literacytoday.ca. Thank you for joining us today.